Okay, g'day again. Right, I'm having a bit of an issue here. I've got it solved, but yeah, just want to share it with you. And I'll put my glasses back on. I'll be able to see what you're seeing. Okay, this is the outer. Now it's a bearing retainer or spacer, and if you look closely here, you can see it's all chewed out. This is probably the result of either not having the hub nut tight enough, or stuck worn bearings or something. But anyway, it's chewed a huge groove in there, and it's also it's chewed this outer face as well. You see, I've sort of done half of it. I've done this I've done it with the angle grinder. I didn't put the grinding disc on. I've used just a fine cutting disc, so it cuts a bit finer, a bit more accurate. So I've just crowned it off, but I've gone down to where it's just starting to touch that inner line. See that wear line will be even all the way around. It'll be, like the same thickness, like the piece will be the same thickness. If you're cleaning this up, you don't want to make it, take it down further on one side or the other, or make it uneven in any way. So, yeah, as I said, so the other one was the same. Well, the other one was just worn on the outside. The inside was sticking up, but there was nothing on the outside. It's probably because the outside was actually running on the rollers, hitting the rollers of the bearing. That's why this is tapered. That's why it's important to put the taper in towards the bearing, because the inner part of the outside bearing slides in and out. Or it slides in, when it tightens in. So it's loose within the thing. So if this goes in too far, it starts hitting the rollers of the bearing. And because that's throwing shavings through your bearing, it'll destroy your bearing in no time. So, yeah, that has to come off. And I've also done a bit more of a bevel around the edge here, because I'll go over that other side with the grinder, and then I'll finish it off with the file just evenly as I possibly can. So, of course, because of that wear, and in doing that, the spacer is now in 2mm in further than it's supposed to be, which also means that it's not like it should be flush with the outside of the rubber seal. So what I've done, I had to do this with the other side, and I was fortunate with the other side to find a washer. You can't put it on the inside, so as I said, it'll hit the rollers of the bearing, so it has to go on the outside, on the back of it. If you could find, if I had a washer, that was only 3mm wide, I'd put it on the inside. But I didn't. I was fortunate enough I found one that was the exact size. This one here was, same thickness as the other one, but it was the outer was the right size, but the inner wasn't. So I actually, this is the spacer off my old swing axle one, which is, I was hoping to be able to use that, but it's totally different. So, yeah, like I was hoping to use that to replace this, but totally different. But they're the same inner and outer size. So what I was able to do is, because the hole in this wash was too small, so I was able to clamp it in the vise and use that as a guide. I've just used a die grinder, and I've used this other bearing as a guide to get the inside rounded and the right size, so it'll fit on. This piece, goes here. This is your outer bearing. I said this inner collar is not fixed. So yeah, when you tighten your wheel, you hub nut up, yeah, it pushes it into a piece of spacer pipe and up against the other bearing. So it locks it all together, so yeah, they all move as one. And yeah, so I'm about to. Fortunately, there is a little bit of clearance. Like when you get that bush all the way in, I think it'd have to. Although it was grinding on the other one. It wasn't grinding on this bearing, but it was grinding the rollers of the bearing on the other side. And yeah, I've got a new way of greasing bearings, which I'll show you in a sec. I used to do it the old way of, grabbing chunks out of the tin and squeezing it in and, totally covering your hands and making a complete mess. And, but yeah, I didn't want to do that today. And also, my tin of grease is just about empty. I remember they had a full grease gun, or probably close to a full grease gun. And so what I did, you can see this bit of plastic here, that's the bag that the seal come in, and when the bearing came in. And because you need a clean surface, and so I just set the bearing on top of that plastic, and put the grease gun in there, and push down on it, and just pump it until it oozes out either side, and keep going around all the way around. And then when you turn over and do the other side, but you see it's squeezed right up between the rollers. And no mess all over your hands. So, I'm also gonna I won't sit on top of that because I don't want the outside messy, but I'm gonna get the grease gun shortly and fill this with grease too before I put it on there, and wipe grease over this inner side of the seal, firstly so it doesn't catch, because if it catches it, what can happen when you're putting seals is it catches it, pulls it down, and there's a spring in there. If it pulls it down, the spring pops off and then the seal doesn't work. Not that this matters that much, it's a grease seal, not an oil seal. So, but anyway, you still don't want dirt getting in there. Alright, well I'll go ahead now and file this piece off. Because this is only because this bug's going on a trip next week, 3,000k trip, and I don't have time for this new to get a new one and have it arrive in a post. I've run out of time. I bought it. I wish I'd have known I would have ordered it with the bearings, but I got to go in a week, and there's a possibility that it won't. If I order the new ones of these, they won't arrive in time anyway. So that's the only reason I'm doing this. So if you're not in that situation, buy a new spacer. Probably a good idea actually if you're putting bearings in, to buy this outer spacer anyway, because both of them were like it. Both of them were worn. I had one totally shot bearing, the other one wasn't making any noise, but decided to replace both of them. But this is both the bearing sets, but both of these spacers were shot. So something to consider. I'm not going to do a video on replacing the bearings. There's plenty of trained mechanics showing videos of that, so can give you a bit of advice on me. Anyway, just something I wanted to point out. So, alright, bye. Catch you in the next one.